more about Twitter's plans. John Steinberg, he's president and CEO of BuzzFeed. How much do you think this thing is really worth?
I hope it stays at 10 or 15. I mean, I'm afraid it's going to kind of run away. I mean, the beauty of this thing is that everybody's getting to it early. It'll have $1 billion in revenue the year it goes out, right? Facebook had about 5. 200 million users. Facebook has 1 billion users now. So it's basically a fifth the size, right? I can't believe Joe thinks it's a fad still. That like bums me out.
You think it could run away to the upside?
I hope it doesn't run away because this is the first pure mobile social company when you think about it, right? 78% of Facebook users access via mobile. I think Twitter is going to be higher, right? 40% of Facebook's revenue is mobile. Twitter is undeniably going to be higher than that, and it's 100% native advertising. Yeah. No banners. So this is the company of the future, right? Everything that...
How often do you hit the banner? How often do you there are no banners. How often do you actually click on advertisements on Twitter?
It doesn't necessarily matter how much you click on it, right? I mean, it matters to some extent, but they've been able to show visible lifts in in-store purchases as a result of exposure. If you think Lamar's a good company, right? I mean, this thing is 100 times better.
And when you think about this whole issue, and maybe we can bring Julia back into the conversation because I think we got her back. When you think about this whole idea that this IPO is being done confidentially, that's sort of the big twist, I think, on this IPO relative.
What does that mean?
It means that we're not going to hear about any of the numbers. Usually,
Jobs Act. 3 weeks before the roadshow, the numbers will come out.
And you know, normally when they file for an IPO, we know something.
It'll come out. Look, I think it's going to leak pretty quickly. I just think everything with this company seems to leak out. It's too big of a company for it not to. But I think it's actually nice. This can get companies going public again, right? That if you're less than $1 billion in revenue, you're not a massive company. You can do this, you know, with a little bit of privacy.
But this is a massive company if it's going to be worth $10 billion, right?
Well, I mean, on a relative basis. I mean, there's $100 billion company. I mean, you know, so it's not that
John,
massive.
if I don't follow someone, can they send me an advertisement?
Well, in your feed, yes. Yes, they can. A company can just put an ad in your feed.
What?
But if they,
see, then I'm just. I mean, just
television. They can put a commercial.
I know that. But I'm not going to look at it. And I'm not going to click on it.
You don't have to.
Well, I'm not.
You don't have to.
Well, I'm not going to.
Julia.
Joe, if you haven't noticed that there already are ads in your feed, then that's probably a sign that Twitter is doing a good job. We've talked to a lot of analysts in the past day, and they say that to a lot of people, you know, Twitter ads are less obtrusive because they flow more naturally, and than Facebook ads say. But Twitter's also designed its advertising so an advertiser will get to pay less per impression, per person who sees that ad, if people like the ad, if they engage with it, if they click on it, if they retweet it. So Twitter's actually encouraging advertisers to make ads that are more like content and more compelling.
Yeah, it's truly content advertising. If you think media has a future, right, media generally, young people are not subscribing to newspapers. The average network television viewer is late 40s, early 50s, right? We're seeing the birth of media now again.
Yeah,
Facebook,
I have to say,
Twitter
I use differently. Facebook, I have an account, but I don't really check in very often. But Twitter, I'm kind of addicted to because
the newswire of the 21st century.
It helps with my job.
Is there any argument to me? Go ahead, Julia.
What I was going to say, Joe, you said you didn't want to tweet this morning, and I gave you a hard time about that. But the truth is that most people who use Twitter don't tweet. People come to Twitter to use it as a sort of a contemporary news feed, and they go there to get information about entertainment, news, sports, to follow their favorite chefs or celebrities. And people really see it as a way to get content, and advertising flows into that content. So I think that the fact that you don't tweet is pretty indicative of how most people use it.
So you do brand recognition.
Well, let me tell you, brand lifts. Look how big this could be. Dolan was saying the other day that maybe they'll be just a broadband company, right? CNBC will continue to put out television. In the future, maybe you'll be putting it out in video on Twitter, delivered over Cablevision or Comcast pipes. That could happen in the next 5 to 10 years. There's no reason why that won't happen.
But not that alone.
Well, it'll decouple. I think we're going to see content and delivery of content completely decouple. Twitter could basically be the new cable network, and everything else could just be pipes. I mean, Vine is sort of an early sign of that. Why won't they go to 20-minute things? Why won't they go to hour-long specials? I mean,
it's going to take better technology.
But so, Becky, even more quicker, before we see what John is talking about happening, we have to look at the partnerships Twitter has done with various TV distributors. I mean, look at the partnership Twitter has done with ESPN. Twitter has really been a leader in figuring out social television. They're working with ESPN. They let ESPN embed clips, and then there are ads in those clips. So it's really changing the way people watch content.
This is what's going to happen to me tomorrow. Les has been able to get $1 billion in retransmission. Everybody else is kind of behind, but we're going to try. Tomorrow night, I'm going to very easily sit down and turn on high-def CBS and watch Alabama, Texas A&M, and I'm not doing anything else. Now, why is there not a place for that in all this new
There is. I mean,
stuff
unless you think people get to 47 years old and they just start watching television, I mean, that's your possible argument, right? Or people are not going to start watching television, and this is going to be how people get all their content.
Maybe it'll be you know, add-on to the way things. I'm not getting old,
well, Joe,
and I'm not going away. Okay.
Right, but there's no more new ones of you.
Joe,
you're one of a kind. There's no more curtains coming out.
Thanks.
That's the problem.
What, Julia? Sorry.
Joe, it is an add-on. You're going to be watching television and not paying attention to your iPhone, but many other people are going to be sitting there watching the sports game, tweeting about it.
It's going to be a wonderful world.
Why?
Fight the good fight.
One last question. Why is this not going to be Facebook? Meaning, because everybody got so burned a year ago.
Why isn't it MySpace?
Well, look at where Facebook is right now. And actually, to your point, my hope is that it stays at 10 billion, that it doesn't run away, that the excitement around this is the only way to.
The private market right now is trading these shares around $16 billion in terms of valuation.
Right.
Well, and you think it'll show up at 10?
No, I'm saying that I hope it would be more around that level. If it's at 15 or 16, I hope it doesn't kind of crest up to 20 or even 25. I hope it doesn't get far ahead of itself.
The private market was what was blamed for what went wrong with Facebook IPO.
But
is it the same saturation in the private market here?
Well, I think it's the fact it's a
totally different situation. It's a very different situation. Only about 5% of Twitter shares are being traded on the private market. Twitter has kept much smaller number of shares, just total, and then a tiny percentage of those are trading. So a huge number of Facebook shares are trading relatively, but Twitter has really kept that private market trading under control, in part because of what happened to Facebook.
I mean, the issue is if you want to be invested in the future of media, if you want to be invested in native social advertising, you want to be invested in mobile, you want to be invested in content, this is really one of very few stocks that you can buy. So the problem is that people may bid it up because they feel like it's the only way to get in on it.
You are selling me big time if it's only 10 billion.
You're buying at 10?
Yeah, I'm not going to tweet, but I'm getting.
All right.
We can't get out on these things.
John, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Julia, thank you in San Francisco for being up early this morning.
I don't think like you at all. I got to call you once in a while. Jeans are big too.
Well, no one sees me below the desk.
No,
so if I was, I would have worn the
to wear
suit.
anything then, right?
Right. I mean, I would have worn the suit pants if I was going to be over there.
Don't do that.
I won't do that.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
I think it's kind of a cool look. Jeans with like a blazer.
It is.
No,
I know.
I started wearing a tie now. It was a Kramer last night. Now I'm going to start wearing a tie.
It's a thin one.
But it's a hip thin tie.
Yeah. Hip thin tie. Yeah. All right. But I need to, I need someone to, my kids are 13 and 11. They're not quite. I'm starting to see this.
Tweet me anytime.
Really?
At reply me John Steinberg.
I have to tweet you?
You can call me, but if you want to at reply me or direct message me on Twitter.
Can I call you on a landline? Or
absolutely.
Is that,
I don't have a landline.
On the landline.
I don't have
See,
a landline.
I didn't think you did, so I can't then. All right. Coming up.
I have a cell phone.
You do?
Of course.
See, I think those
I don't talk on it much. It's mostly for data, but
I think those are a fad, too. Coming up.